every athlete, every person, every human being has an opportunity. Some opportunities don't come when you want them. But if you're prepared, good opportunities can happen. Always be ready, because you never know when your number is going to get called.
I'm not coming back.
EMIY Apparel. Encourage me. I'm young.
Calvin T. Mann, leading Emmy, served over 20,000 youth through speaking, coaching, and mentoring. He has inspired us for years. Welcome to Emmy TV Podcast with your host, Calvin T. Mann, the Encourager.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Emmy TV, Put Your Family First podcast. We're kicking this off today with Have a Holly Jolly Christmas, as you've seen throughout these years. Oh, by golly, have a holly jolly Christmas this year. I'm excited. I got it. Mentoring ended yesterday. Can you, what? 14 weeks of mentoring. Right. The 12 dues. Right? That's what it is. The 12 dues of healing. So the first one, changing. I was going to start singing it, but I'll let it go. So welcome to Emmy TV. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be in the presence of two lovely mothers. And
Well, it's good to be acknowledged. How about that?
right. Yes. The Queen is in the building, just so you know. I didn't want to not acknowledge.
Oh, well, thank you kindly.
Whatever your mood is today. You got red on, so you must be fiery hot today. All right?
If you say so, husband.
I know that's right.
Yes, you should say so, because I do like this red.
Okay. Well, we in there. We in there like swimwear. Ain't that what they say? So, excuse me, I'm hungry. I'm just coming from...
No.
I'm hungry.
No, we're not doing that.
Listen.
And we're not smacking while you are on air.
Monique
didn't lay down the rules today. I was trying to get her to lay down.
I'm hungry. It's a podcast, baby. You can eat all kind of stuff on
you
podcasts.
Cannot. No,
sure you can.
No, you cannot. You cannot stay out of order. No, you cannot.
Right. So,
turn it over, please.
now to you. Yeah, now to you.
Thank you so very much. Our topic today is the 12 dues of healing for 2024. And this is an opportunity for us to start this healing process in preparation for the inpouring that we are to expect for 2024. It is the harvest year. It is a year of the generations. It's a year of abundance, material and financial. This is about the harvest of all of the seeds that you
do
sown.
know everybody say that, right? Every year is the year of financial and harvest.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to separate this one today, right?
This is also connected to your karma.
Controversy.
It's also connected to your karma. So those seeds that you sown as well. It is a time to make sure that you have forgiven others and you have been forgiven, so that you have no roadblocks to your blessings for 2024.
Well, let's talk about that seeding and that reaping, because that reaping, knowing when you're in your reaping season, it might last as long as you've been doing those deeds. Yeah, come on. Yeah, I experienced the reaping season for a long. Woo, Lord, I almost shot up in here. Let me get myself together.
Right. So there is still work to do. So it doesn't mean that you don't have any additional work to do. We're going to talk about what some of that work is to help release some of the barriers, release some of those things that are roadblocks and obstacles and challenges to your harvest. And so it starts with our healing. And so we talk about healing strategies. So these 12 do's are some healing strategies for you. I know, they're pretty, some of them are very much in depth. And I'm going to put these up on my website so you'll have access to them to be able to, give some more deeper reflection and actually look at the list. Because I think it's important that you have these tools in hand, because, it's going to be a task going through all 12 of them. And it's going to be a task to complete your work, and the level of understanding that I would like for you to have as you take this journey around these 12 do's.
Can I have my nuts back?
No, sir. Okay, great. No additional dialogue there, because it was just a dirty joke waiting to happen. and I was a lady about it, and I let it go. So I'm not going to turn into my dad right now.
Okay, go ahead. Let's go. Number 1.
Well, no, we're still talking about the healing strategies to get people set for number 1.
All
okay?
Right.
So healing strategies are tools basically to help you guide, reflect, bring peace to your circumstance, to your mind, to your heart, to your circumstance, remind you about forgiveness, love, and truth. This journey that we have of truth is going to be extremely important, because there are some things you're going to have to be honest with yourself about in order to move some of the roadblocks. And there's some things that you're going to have to admit to yourself that you may have refused to admit out loud or to anybody else. And so that's part of this work. That's part of the self-work, but that's also part of the healing. When we're healing, it doesn't mean that there's no scar that's there. What it means is that it no longer hurts when it's triggered. So when you touch that place of that wound, it doesn't hurt anymore because it's been healed. And so that's what we're trying to get to in these different areas of our lives that we're going to talk about today.
All right.
So the wounds also bind our lives to our past. It binds us to doubts. It binds us to things being unresolved, pain, loss, and our identity. And so, our ego gets bruised very much when we're in pain, and those things that cause us pain also impact our self-esteem and how we see us in different situations, and able to see us as we really should be, ought to be, have the potential to become. And so these 12 do's will help you to kind of navigate those waters and put some things in perspective that are going to be helpful and healing for you.
Yes, and your 12 healing lessons just before Christmas.
Right.
And all through the hood.
Well, this is not limited to Christmas, but it's a play on the 12 days of Christmas. It's called the 12 do's of Christmas, of healing. But this is from now into your harvest. So if your harvest, you mentioned that this is something that we do every year, that people expect and anticipate every year. If you haven't had that harvest, then these are some of the tools you might need to help you get there.
And all through the house.
So the first one is to understand that change is a process, and it requires a catalyst. And what that means is that these are different elements and tools that you need. Once you have this, you have the keys to change. The first one is that you need new information. New information. Sometimes when you hear the same old thing,
Hold on.
it goes
Excuse
over
me.
and
Excuse me.
yes.
We're on number one. What happened? So you need new information. But isn't this new information?
Is change new information?
I mean, the 12 lessons of the journey.
For some people, it might be new information.
All right, let's go. All right. That's when I was. This is, ladies and gentlemen, this is new information.
It may be new for some.
Oh, no. without a
But
doubt.
if you don't use number 2 in the process of change, which is appreciation, you'll never apply it.
Right.
So sometimes people don't appreciate the source of information. Calvin, I know you know a lot about this when you're sharing this information with mothers and grandmothers about raising their boys. Sometimes they can't appreciate the fact that they are being checked or corrected, however we receive that information.
Yeah, it's hard for them to take that.
Right. So if you don't appreciate where it comes from, it's hard to apply that information.
Because they want it in the rose, right? They want it to be rosy and all emotional, and we're not doing that.
See, the difference is because a man's love language is about respect.
Yes.
A woman's love language is about expression.
Yeah.
We need to have it expressed. So if it has to be, if you're trying to reach a woman, a grandmother, a mother, especially around something sensitive like how she raises her children.
Okay.
Yeah. That expression.
Right, but you got to remember.
Listen now. That expression has to be taken into consideration. And for you, it's a matter of respecting your authority, respecting your experience. That's not.
I'm saying this.
And respecting your knowledge. That's not true.
You're asking someone to change who they are and how they present for it to be accepted to the person that asked you for the help, the information, right? And how you ask that person for the help because you have been sabotaged not to understand that this is how we are, which affects relationships. It affects the relationship you would have with a man.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you are overly sensitive in the process, but you're not overly sensitive when you tell him something. Right? It did not tell you, you don't have no problem with that. But when it comes from him, this is where the piece gets, the road gets weary.
But that is where the disconnect is also.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
Right. So in delivering it, you're expecting your authority, your experience, and all those things to be respected because a man's love language is about respect. And so it's disrespectful to question, doubt, your experience.
My experience for sure.
Right. Your
Monique,
journey.
I ain't buying that one.
Right. So that is the disconnect.
It's 39
And
years
just-
of boy success.
And just like the mom, she's saying, I've given all of what I have to raising this child.
Oh, but I gotta throw this in a minute. Go ahead.
In spite of, some of the behaviors, in spite of all that, we still have to keep pressing and pouring. And so we're not talking about all.
Okay.
We're
All
not
right.
talking about
I'm with you.
always, and we're not talking about the word never. We're not using
All right.
those terms. We're talking about that there are times, there are people, and there are moments where we have to consider
Yes.
how we're giving and receiving information
Yes.
in order for
I
appreciation
need you to
take
consider
place.
handing me back my nuts.
And
Come on, go ahead. I'm
and
hungry.
beyond the appreciation, being able to apply what is being shared. The
Yes,
lessons
application
learned.
is important.
But then after that, transformation can take place. What we need to happen, though, transformation is not the end. We have to then elevate to our next level.
Yes.
And sometimes we stop in transformation. I'm changed. But you go through the same cycles over and over again without elevating beyond those things that you learned that you now are supposed to have stewardship over and governance over. So that's where elevation takes you.
Yes.
To a level of stewardship. Like you're in a level of stewardship over this work.
Talk dirty.
Because you've elevated not only did it transform you, you have now elevated to a level of national encourager. You're a mentor. I mean, over many, not a few, over many. So your stewardship increased once you started to transform and be transformed by the information.
I love when you pour into me. It's so...
Number 2. Thank you. So number 2 is another strategy. We're talking about how do we get back on track. But there are certain things that come to get you to move. And so they come in the form of triggers. And sometimes, the triggers, we don't have to like how it comes to stir us into something different. Sometimes those triggers are designed to get you to move into a new direction. And we can get really, really upset. And so these are some of the places too, Calvin, when you're talking to mothers and grandmothers about how they're raising sons, there are triggers. And once you start hitting those triggers, we get defensive.
Well, yeah, that's because a lot of it is right. You discover amongst the process, you discover that triggers kind of come with lies too, right? Triggers kind of come with mischievous behavior. Triggers kind of come with. It's a trigger because you was doing wrong. It's a trigger because you had something to do with it. It's a trigger. Like there's reasons why we have these triggers, right? In this process. So when I do say something, and that's why I wanted to interject this quick little story. So today, we had 2 barbers over at the school, Monet, shooting our boys at the mentoring.
You said shooting them?
I mean, cutting.
Okay.
Right, cutting.
Right. That sounds better.
I was on video, so excuse me. Right, so cutting hair at the school, right? And when the gentleman got in the car for me to transport, right, what did we discover? There's a hidden story. And what triggered their hidden story? All I asked was, are you boys' fathers? And right away, it triggered stories. Man, speaking of which, and they started talking about how they were kept from their fathers. Both had the similar story. But go ahead, that's a trigger. It was a trigger. I was triggered.
Yes, I'm sure everybody was triggered when you said that.
Yeah.
So the next shift that comes to get us to get out of our comfort zone is timing. Sometimes when you think about the timing of when something happens, it's like sometimes that timing is good, sometimes it's just the wrong time. For example, I was in the middle of working out my documents for the end of the year, reports, and all the things that I need to do. And I had a computer issue, not once, not twice, but 3 times. The second time, I had to sneeze. The second time, actually had to take a brand new computer, less than 3 weeks old, back to get it exchanged. Which means, so for people who know what this journey is, when you have to take a computer back or buy a new computer, they have to put everything back on your computer. That means that how you had it set up, all the apps, all your passwords, all of those things sometimes get lost in the process. For me, the timing was terrible. Couldn't wait another week when I was actually on my wind down and I didn't have as much committed information and things I needed to share. No. It happened just when I need to have access to it.
Yeah, but tell the folks how you feel about tech. Tell them.
How I feel about tech?
Technology, yeah.
Well, I'm not a big fan of social media. Okay. That's one. I'm mostly very patient when I have something I have to do. I'm good at putting things together and taking things apart. Like I'm big in my household about how things are assembled.
Yeah.
And
We're
what
talking
I can
about
do
tech.
with what I can do with my hands. Yes.
Technology.
So, yes. It can be overwhelming for me.
Okay.
It can be overwhelming for me because especially the constant change in it. That's a trigger for me.
Exactly.
It's a trigger for me. So either I have to slow down and take my time, go step by step. Now, after I get to that point and it's still doing wacky like the last two computers and the new one that I just got back that had none of my information where it was supposed to be. Yeah, that was a trigger for me. So I just said I had to sit it down. I couldn't work like that.
Appreciation, though.
No, that was not about appreciation.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Where we at? We're on.
We're on timing.
Opportunity.
Timing.
Okay, opportunity. I mean, timing.
So those things are about timing. So part of my reflection is that I needed to take a step back and not be so dependent on that technology and that timing. I had to do what I needed to finish, and then I needed to sit that to the side until I can put more time into working through the glitches in that system. I was just not in the frame these last couple of days to work through all the glitches after having to take it back. And when they said it was going to cost the same amount it cost to put those, I had to leave.
But then the opportunity.
Yeah. So there was an opportunity that came out of it, like a price match. So what was actually paid for the computer, we actually got close to $500 back.
Oh, you're talking appreciation now.
No, that's opportunity. It was a hidden opportunity in that for that whole price match opportunity. So when we took it back, they said, well, there's a difference in what you paid for it, 3 weeks ago versus what the price is today, which is another little scary thing, but I'm not going to get into that. But it did present itself with an opportunity to get something, a financial gain back from it that would not have been there otherwise, which means that there's room to get me something that makes me happy.
Yes, and so that's why we moved to motivation and inspiration.
And that's where my motivation.
That's where I take over, right? Motivation and inspiration. You should have seen her, Monique, at the counter. Taking back this computer, right? So I had to turn into Les Brown. Baby, everything's gonna be all right. You got this. Don't worry about it, right? No, I'm just gonna go on over here. Yeah, go ahead. I'll take care of it, right? Yeah, and then when you go over there, she got her back to you, right? Like a 5-year-old. She don't want nothing to do with it, right? Mm-hmm. And so, right? So we get it taken care of. We got money back. You know what I mean? They said they not going, right? She turned. I say they gonna take care of it, baby. I got you, right? So then it turned into that when it was all said and done. I don't want. Just make sure, right? I'm getting directives now. But then once we settle down, hey, we getting so much money back, right? You're going to get this. Mm-hmm. They're signing off that. Everything's going to be okay, right? And so, we get in the car. I didn't have no lollipops or anything like that, right? So we get in the car and make sure that she was okay. So the motivation and inspiration has timing too, and right, because it's important that sometime when you, right, say these things about technology, right, that sometime it can, it's the same for each of us. We have to be careful of the things that we choose to say, and so we get some lessons and some blessings. There's always a blessing in the lesson. Always.
I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Right? And then there's consequences.
There are consequences.
Right? And so your consequences, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't
finish talking about motivation and inspiration.
No, I took over. I know. You done. So you don't pick back up till 3.
So there's something I want to add to motivation
make it quick.
Inspiration. That sometimes when you see an opportunity, it can motivate you. So if your best friend is going to take some college classes and you really never thought about it, or you had an idea that you wanted to go back to school and get a degree in a certain area, that person's actions can be your motivation to do the same. They can inspire you to do something that you may not have thought you could do that was possible for you. So when you have those things that happen, you know, a lot of people start having the conversations about haters and, you know, people who either talk down when people step out in faith, or people are doing something that maybe they didn't have the strength or the ambition to do. You know, people have something to say, but it can also be that they are motivated and inspired by those people too. So just a heads up to that if you find yourself in that circumstance where something that somebody did that maybe was unexpected, or that was different or unique, that made you feel that you could do it, that is part of that trigger that gets you to move. And so don't leave that out. And so the last one is consequences. So that could also be because, and there's a situation with someone that I know who they smoke weed. And they had an opportunity to get a contract, a very large 6-figure contract for themselves. First, it was a job that was offered for themselves, and then there was a shift that job, because they got another opportunity because they didn't pass a drug test as an individual, but didn't consider the fact that as a business that same test would be administered, and so they missed 2 opportunities. And the consequence of the choice of continuing to smoke marijuana and trying to grow at the same time, it did not work in their favor. So they missed an opportunity for a job, and they missed opportunity for their business because they couldn't pass the drug test. And a lot of people, you know, have the argument, well, it's legal. It's legal, but it doesn't mean that the company has to prescribe to that. That's not their standard, and that they don't want their employees coming in smelling like weed or coming in high. And because of the nature of the work that person was doing, it was important that they be, and I'm just going to use the word sober, to be sober and aware for that particular job. And so the consequence of the decision of continuing on that path, when they had said to themselves, you know what, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to break this habit, but never did. It was a consequence to that. And so sometimes consequences also can be a trigger to shift you from one direction and put you in another direction. So that's 2. So imagine if that opportunity comes again, that would be the 3rd time that they didn't get the 3rd consequence. And so my prayer is that they don't have a 3rd incident, that they now understand that in business, as well as their personal journey, that there are some things that you have to be able to give up and do differently.
Well, seeing as that you took over consequence, I'm going to go to number 3, areas of focus. And we put out there for callers, you can call in. We're giving away a free hoodie. Tell us how you got back on track, right? So 3 areas of focus for a meaningful new year: self-care, family, spiritual balance, truth, identity. So self-care. Some of us are pretty bad at this. I'm trying to stay consistent, right, and really do better with myself. I've been battling with this the last couple of weeks. You know, I get up, get going, fall off. Not making myself a high priority. I think I just did with online shopping. Honestly, self-care.
You know, some people refer to that as shop therapy.
Shop therapy, but I don't even want to get into that. But
I know you don't.
I know, but that wasn't the case for me.
Right,
it wasn't necessarily therapy, but like for me,
it was therapeutic though.
It really wasn't that. It was just. It was almost a need for me.
You to do
as Stacy would say, is it a need or a want? It was a need for me to do something for me. Right.
I agree.
And
I agree.
it's like I was telling, some people, I guess I don't really see myself as selfish, but somebody might see me as selfish, right? But I don't see myself as selfish, right? But I do see myself as, a good, talented human being, right? Mm-hmm. And so self-care, for me, being in self-care, I'm starting to get there. Like this year, I did a much better job with me, and feel pretty good about that, right? But self-care is really a huge part. Family, I think for me, family, it's all around me, right? And I'm driving myself batty, Monique, like, because I had this vision for this big house with, I want the barbecue, right, the grill, the whole nine on the deck, and inviting my friends and family, and I'm cooking for everybody, right? And I fix everything. And that's something that I want to do to bring my family together. Nieces, nephews, grandkids, cousins, friends. Like, it's a big circle around me of quality people. And sometimes I feel like in my head that this vision that I have is really right, and I take
really
all
what?
of it. It's really possible, right? And how I can make it happen, right, is part of it, right? But all around me is family. So all the kids that we mentor or bring in, or families or whatever, they are family to me, right? So the work is bringing more families to me, right? You know what I mean? Great story. Anthony called today. Now, this is a great piece about how we teach our mentees how important it is to be a leader. A friend of his was going through something. He stayed with him, walked with him, and went in and took him to the counselor and made sure that he got the help that he needed. Then he called me. So I'm like, who is this calling me? And it's him. I said, well, after he got through telling me, I said, you got his number? He's like, yeah. I said, we going to pull him in? You want to pull him in? He said, yeah, I want to pull him in.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Right? Family. Right? He already did it. Hey, Cousin Cal. That's how when I answered the phone. Hey, Cousin Cal. Right? But he understands, the process. You know what I mean? He found somebody that cared enough to challenge him. You know what I mean? Spiritual balance. I think we all have to have spiritual balance. And some of us, they do it in many ways, and that's your area of expertise. Me, I keep it simple. Pray and fast. I keep it very simple. Pray and fast. Call in now. Callers, call in now and tell us how you got back on track. So go ahead. You add to the spiritual balance, because this is an area for which you navigate a little more personal and professional. Me, I try to, as a man, we always gonna try to simplify things. We gonna solve this problem on it, right? We think it's that simple. Yeah, just do this, right? You know what I mean? But
so I think when we think about spiritual balance, that we have to look at the physical things that happen. That there's a book actually called that there's a spiritual solution for every problem, and I believe that the things that we go through physically are helping us to solve, resolve, address those things that are happening spiritually with us as well. I think one is a representation of the other to let you know that something is happening and something needs to be addressed and realigned so that it flows, so that there is currency, so there is a fluidity in whatever that circumstance or situation is pointing to. So finding that balance is, to me, looking at both sides. What's happening to me here in the physical, and what does that mean here in the spiritual? So if I'm having chest pains, or if my heart is hurting, perhaps there's something going on with my love and how I'm expressing, giving and receiving love. Maybe it's my area of gratitude. Maybe I need to give more of my time, more of my resources, more of my effort, whatever that might be. Whatever is off balance, then I would suggest to look at the opposite thing that might be our spiritual alignment and balance in that. So if you feel like I don't feel like I'm forgiving, or I'm patient, or I'm kind to someone or people in general, then how do you then look at that thing or that behavior in the physical sense and correct it? So if people tell you that you're stingy, or people tell you that you're mean, or people tell you that you're always angry, listen to what people are saying and then critically examine yourself. What are some of the examples? Ask for examples. Say, when was I behaving like that? Or when did you see me do that? And listen to how their interpretation is, because that's going to give you some of the cues and clues that you need to get that balance. So
yeah, but you got to evaluate who the person is, because
you absolutely
the person that's telling you could be really confessing their own issues. I think a lot of times we forget.
But there is still, even in the lie, there is I.
No, understand what I'm saying.
I do understand what you're saying.
So if I come in and I say, this is who you are, you're mean, this, that, and the other, I could be coming from an emotionally hating position, right, to cut into you, to cause you
to manipulate. Yes,
exactly, right. But at the same time, you could have. There's one of the things we have to do is evaluate who the person is that's coming to tell you that you're mean. You have to evaluate that.
So because nothing happens by chance or coincidence. If it may not be in the obvious spaces, it still is directing you to do more reflection. Find out where that's coming from. Because well, I'm not selfish. I always give. Whenever I have a chance to give to somebody, I always give. But maybe the giving is to yourself. Like you mentioned earlier, you always pour out into other people and you never do anything for yourself. So being selfish, if somebody came and told you that you were selfish, it does not necessarily mean that was an outward selfishness. You're selfish to yourself, meaning that you don't take the same care with you that you take with others. And if you don't do any type of reflection, you could actually miss that.
Okay.
So I just be mindful that even if the source may not be the best source, what is directing you to, that's like shooting the messenger. Still, what is directing you to should cause you to reflect, not to deflect it. We are quick to deflect opportunity for reflection. We're quick to deflect that. Oh, that's not me. I already know I'm not like that. Really? Just not going to even take the time to explore and make sure? So we do a lot of self-sabotage.
I did that real quick.
What, the self-sabotage?
No. Took the time to explore.
No, that wasn't quick. If you talking about actually, you were in deep reflection, almost agony over making a decision about doing some things for you.
Yeah, I was. That was weird. It took me 3 days to buy a pair of shoes.
Wow. And so, exactly. So if I said you were selfish, you're like, oh, I'm not selfish. I give to everybody. Right. But you give to everybody but you. And I said that to you.
No, it's because I'm thinking in other places this money could go.
Absolutely. And there will always be other places.
There will always be other places.
So
you can always make money too, baby. That's my philosophy. So you can always make money.
And so, again, that's about reflecting. That was your journey into understanding what self-care also means.
Right.
That you have to care for yourself.
Yes.
And so, and sometimes just doing something nice for you is important.
Number 3, we had truth.
Well, that is a part of it, isn't it?
And then identity.
So in terms of our truth, again, these are areas for meaningful focus. Let me go back and make sure that we're clear, because I know we're having a lot of dialogue here. But the idea of number 3 is areas of focus for a meaningful year. So again, that was self-care, family, spiritual balance, truth, understanding your truth, and doing your best to tell your truth and also tell the truth is very much of a challenge for a lot of us, because sometimes you don't want to speak your own truth, and sometimes you don't want to tell the truth because of fear of hurting somebody's feelings, or our delivery. Maybe we don't feel like we're the best in delivering. And then just some simple things. I don't want to be the one to say it. You know, that happens for a lot of us. I just don't want to be the one to say it. I don't want to be the first one to say something. I don't want to be the one to stand up. I don't want to, all of those kinds of places that we can find ourselves are areas of focus that we have to reflect on. And lastly, the sense of identity. One of the activities that is happening within our mentoring program is helping people to brand their identity. So we look at other popular people that create their own brands. And when you think about designers, they have clothing lines like, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. Give me somebody that's a designer outside of you.
Gucci.
Oh, okay. So is Gucci a person? Or is it just a name? So somebody that
Gucci
actually
was a clothing line. You good? Gucci.
Yeah, I don't know enough about Gucci to have that conversation. I'll use Oprah. Oprah, her name itself is a brand. And when you think of brand Oprah, what types of things do you think of? You think of something that, what would you think of? Let me ask you that.
Brand Oprah?
Yeah, when you think of her as a brand, what do you think about?
Giver. I'm
Okay.
an Oprah fan. Education. Spirituality.
Okay.
Kindness.
Okay. Representing who mostly?
Talented.
Who does she mostly represent?
Women.
She mostly represents women, right?
Yeah.
And so those are things that you identify with Oprah as a brand. Each one of us has that type of identity. Because of what I know about our engineer, how I identify her is as a producer. I identify her now as a mother because I actually met her daughter. As a wife because I actually met her husband. and her talent, because one of her goals she shared, I'm not going to say it out loud, but she shared one of her goals, which I am hoping that for 2024 it's on the table. Yeah. So that's one of the brands. And then of course the crush, but I'm not going to say anything loud about that. But that's how I identify her. And always a kind word, always a smile, always makes you feel like she's happy to see you. You are important. That's how I identify her brand. So it is these characteristics that I identify with that make me be connected to her.
Okay.
So that's something that we really have to give focus to, because people don't necessarily look at themselves as a brand. But your brand are those qualities that other people identify and say that this is her brand. Like you were talking about running into one of my students, one of the barbers, right? Mm-hmm. He told you what?
You was mean.
He said I was mean or I
You
was
was hard.
Right. That's the difference. Right.
He said you was tough. You used to cut people's head off.
He did not say I cut people's hair off.
Oh man, he dressed it up pretty good.
No.
He was like, but he was like, but I hung in there, and she challenged me, and she told me I could do this and I could do that, and because I was hungry for it, he said, but it was tough.
Of
She
course.
was mean.
He said I was mean.
Yeah, he said he eventually grew to understand where you was coming from.
No, he did not call me mean. Now, I was tough because I know what's in them.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
what
what's
you
in my
he said. That's
students.
what you kept saying.
And I wasn't taking less than their best. Why would I take less than their best and let them think that they could go through life less than who they are? There's no way.
That's
I
right.
couldn't stand in front of them and do them an injustice. Yeah, I pulled out what was already in them. He was already a great man.
He was already a great man.
But he didn't see it at the level that I did. And then once he got there, then I put my name behind his.
Okay.
So, but that's what I'm saying. So our identity is connected to how people see us and what we do.
Especially when you're hungry.
Well, okay, I'll go with that. All right, so number
And I'm
4.
hungry.
This is really an important one. This is another step in this journey of the 12 dues of healing. So this one is especially good.
I'm just letting you know you're not making the 12 today.
We are going to make it to 12. What time is it? How much time we got left?
Like 13 minutes.
13? Okay, I'm going to get through this. Watch. So healing old wounds is really important. When you're healing old wounds, ask yourself, why? Why does it still hurt? What hurts when it's triggered? And then this is your challenge. Once you identify why it still hurts, then you need to write yourself an honesty letter.
You need to write letters to yourself often.
I agree with that. But for
email
this particular healing strategy, write yourself an honesty letter. It still hurts because I still love him or her. It still hurts because I'm not resolved with how it ended. It still hurts because I really want to be with them. I haven't gotten over my fear of being alone. Whatever that is.
It still hurts because I really want to stalk them.
No, that's an action behind the hurt. No. All right, so number 5. Here's a really, really good healing strategy. Define love and then refine love. Here's some strategies on how to do that. First, as you're defining love, remove all self-gratification.
That's tough.
Remove all self-gratification. What's in it for you? Remove all of that. Second, then remove the emotion. And third, substitute another word for the word love. So I admire him. I desire him. I believe in him. Like whatever, you have to substitute that word love in order to get your mind and get yourself beyond the existing definition to expand and refine what it really means. So number 6, appreciating your own gifts. Appreciating your own gifts. The first and most important gift that you have and that you bring is your presence in the world. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
The second thing is knowing and understanding and applying your superpower.
Yeah.
And the third is your unique blueprint. There is no one like you, past, present, or future. However, that is a blueprint to who you can become. There is a blueprint, and it's laid out, but you have to find the cues and the clues.
Some people think they're already there. So you got to deal some with that ego. Number 7.
Number 7 is your spiritual economy. Now, I need for you to really embrace yourself for this, because we have a way of describing what our spiritual economy is. I'm going to give you some tools for that. The first thing that we talk about is blessings and curses in terms of our generations, in terms of our family, our problems, the things that happen in our families and happen to us, right? And through us. We call them blessings and curses often. So your spiritual economy is one of the ways that God works through generations. There are 3 things that we're asked to do. Each generation is asked to do, and each generation has a champion for that family and for that generation to help to remove what we call blessings and curses or add to it. So the first thing that we are entrusted to do is to complete that which was incomplete. So if your grandparents and your parents never finished school, then you must complete that. You must complete that task for your family's spiritual economy. You must fix those things that were broken. Those things could be people. Those things could be legacy. Those things could be family lines. Those things could be trust. Whatever that is, and you are aware of it, part of your objective as a family champion is to fix that which was broken. And then the last one is to right that which was wrong. So if you knew that somebody in your family took something that didn't belong to them from somebody else, and there's a whole history of this. This happened in my family for generations. There were people who took my family's land in Florida. So they took something that didn't belong to them. So their legacy and the generations that came after them have to repay my family back that land. It has to be repaid. So if somebody in our family should be getting some kind of opportunity to get large sums of property, because that's how it's going to be repaid or righted. That wrong has to be righted. Mm-hmm. And so it works like that. So when we have opportunities, and there's simple ways that we're entrusted with this, and this is how you know, there is an overwhelming feeling that you were supposed to do something. So you might be standing in the grocery store. This is my favorite one because you might run into my mom. This is my favorite one.
At Walmart.
Right. This is at Walmart. So if you're in the line behind somebody and you realize that they don't have enough money, and that overwhelming sense, like, give them the $5. Give them the $5. And I'm not giving up my $5. If you know, and that's an inner knowing that you're supposed to give them that $5, give them that $5, because this is a part of your spiritual economy. When you have that overwhelming feeling to act and to do, that is that opportunity to release the blessings and break the curses. Every time when you don't do what's right to do, you continue the curse in your families. When you break those curses and you do what you have been, that inner guidance is telling you to do, when you do that, you add the blessings. And we all have those moments, but there are champions in our families whose job it is to do the specific things that have been left incomplete, that have been broken, and that have been wronged. There are specific people in our family that just have a need to keep trying to get it right and to make it right. Those people are the champions. So honor them. Number 8, reflections in the rearview mirror. Reflection is an important way to show us where we're going based on where we've been. If you don't take time to reflect, you are doing yourself a disservice.
Stevie Wonder said it. Looking back on when I was a little nappy-headed boy.
Right. And so it's helpful to write reflections down, because sometimes our minds get cluttered with so many other things going on. When you write, it's the clearest message that you have. So I would encourage you to write those reflections. Number 9, physical and spiritual solutions prevail. Physical pain and discomforts point us to spiritual problems. Let me say it again, physical pain and discomforts often point us to the spiritual powers.
Caller, go ahead. Hello?
Okay. All right. So number 10, affirming what we want by what we say. We tear down dreams and visions before they even have a chance to blossom. We have to watch our words. We have to be mindful and careful of what we say to our children, what we say to ourselves, what we continue to affirm. When you say somebody is stupid, when you say they're this or they're that, if it is not uplifting them or putting them in the direction where they should go, then that means that you're going to confirm that behavior and that path for them, and also for yourself. So make sure that you affirm what you say. Don't say the word I'm tired. Don't say the word I'm sick. Don't say the word I'm broke. Don't use those terms, because they don't profit
you want your nuts.
It does not profit you, Calvin. Number 11, walk your meridian path. Walk out your meridian path. Your meridian path was set in your childhood. It's going to show you who you are first, what you're made of, and where you're going from here. It's like being on the freeway when you see the signs and exits. A lot of people don't pay attention to the signs on the freeway. And a lot of people, there's a sign that is just too funny to me. And if you're not paying attention, you will walk right by it. There are signs that say no turn or no U-turn. And it says some of them say no, it's supposed to say no turn, but it says on turn. It says the word O-N instead of N-O. And the signs actually have a lot of misspelling. So it's really misdirected. But because we're not reading, we're just assuming that that's what it says. We go along with it. And so this particular walking your meridian path is not based on assumption. It is based on your actual observation and your actual pathway. If you're looking for your purpose, it was established in your childhood.
All right, tell them where they can meet you at.
We have 3 minutes. I got one more to go. The last one is number 12. Growing through the stages of grief. Growing through the stages of grief. Denial, shock, anger, guilt, shame, and then your peace comes. So if you don't know that grief has stages, please look it up. Because a lot of us get lost in a grief because we don't know that there's a next step. There's a next step beyond the anger, beyond the denial, beyond the shock. We don't know that there's a next step. There is a next step. And you can move through that grief when you know the steps that are ahead of you. So, I am Heather Heteru. And you can reach out to me at yourinspiredjourney.com. That's yourinspiredjourney.com. Or you can reach me by phone at 313-759-7855. Looking forward to hearing from you and have a great holiday season.
Have a great holiday season. I'm looking forward to this mattress that I'm about to go dive in. Yes, you can reach me at calvintman.com. And this was a beautiful 12 lessons. It was pretty quick, the last 7.
But we got them.
She wanted to make sure she got them in. She got them in. METV, look for some exciting new. What do we have? Visitors, episodes, and visitors, and
2024.
And 2024.
The harvest.
Yeah, we're gonna open up the door. Open the door and let them in. Ooh yeah, Sister Susie, Father John, Brother Michael.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Louis Armstrong.
Bring it back.
Oh, okay. Anyway, you guys be blessed, be awesome, stay healthy, and remember, always this holiday, put your family first. Peace. Now give me my nuts, boy.